I cleared my very first ultimate in Final Fantasy XIV using only the Party Finder. Let's talk about it. Hello and welcome back, goats, to the BigBluePurple channel. Yesterday, I finally cleared my first ultimate raid in Final Fantasy XIV. In this video, I'd like to talk about what the overall experience was like, what I liked about it, what I disliked about it, and the trials and tribulations I went through to get my clear. Now, if you've seen my 2 years of Final Fantasy XIV video, which I'm sure many of you have because it's the most viewed video on my channel, you would know that I wanted to do an ultimate raid this year. Ever since I got into 14, I've been interested in doing the ultimate raids. I saw footage of them all the way back when I first heard about the game, and I thought they looked absolutely insane, and I was totally interested in trying it. The problem was, I was always intimidated by having to find 7 other people who wanted to do it with you, and overall, it just looked really difficult, so I wasn't sure I was going to be able to pull it off. On top of that, I have hardly any Savage experience outside of the first 2 Asphodelos raids that came out with the launch of Endwalker. And to be honest with you, those 2 raids really didn't sell me on Savage raiding. I kind of just moved away from it and never gave it another chance. I thought Extreme Trials were going to end up being the only kind of hard content I really enjoyed engaging with, because I really did like the Extreme Trials that came with the launch of Endwalker and the 6.2 Extreme Trial as well. Just under 2 weeks ago now, though, I decided to hop into a fresh Garuda prog party just for the hell of it, to see what the raid looked like. It was a fresh party, so I wasn't really hurting anyone by sucking at the game. I probably died to Feather Rain every single time it was cast, and I also had no idea what the hell I was supposed to do with my friction stacks, because I watched a guide but didn't really absorb any of the information I had just seen. I ended up leaving the prog party and thinking, man, I don't think I really want to do this. Until I woke up the next day and my brain compelled me to go back into Ultimate and try one more time. So I rewatched a guide on Garuda and did my absolute best to understand everything the guide was telling me, this time to much more success. I joined a prog party, and within the same prog that we started, we were able to kill Garuda. And this prog party right here is what spiraled me into 2 weeks of non-stop grinding Ultimate. By killing Garuda, it gave me this huge burst of motivation like, holy shit, I've already killed the first boss, so I might as well keep going. Everyone told me I should do the new Savage tier before I even bothered trying Ultimate, but I was sitting here like, fuck that, I don't want to learn 4 separate fights, I've already killed Garuda. And so I resolved to bash my head against the wall until I was able to get the clear. I considered joining a static, but there was 2 major concerns. One, I had hardly any Savage experience, and I don't think telling them that I did Barbarecia Extreme was really going to sell them on me as a player. And 2, I really didn't want to put up with all the scheduling bullshit that goes into having a static. And raiding 3 days a week really didn't sound appealing to me when that's what most statics do. I was committed, you see. I wanted to clear this raid as fast as I could. I wanted to prog this raid every single day until it was done. And so that's what I did. And luckily enough, I was able to run into some other players in Party Finder just as insane as me who wanted to do this every single day. So we had like a little mini static of like 2 other people that I would prog with on a daily basis. This obviously doesn't provide the same kind of consistency that a full static would, but at least I had another melee DPS to coordinate with all the time. The Garuda and Ifrit phases of the fight went very smoothly at first in Party Finder. In the first like 1 to 3 days, we managed to get through Garuda, get to Ifrit, and then clear Ifrit pretty much no problem. But I suppose we were just getting lucky with the Party Finders on those specific days. When I got to Titan Prog, I very quickly realized that Titan Prog was code word in the Party Finder for Garuda Cleanup. For every good prog party up on the server, there's another 9 trap parties to make up for it. This is where the biggest struggle and motivational block in Ultimate came into me. There were several days where no progress was being made because the parties I was joining were not consistent with the first 2 phases of the fight. And that's not for me to say that I was perfect and never made any mistakes. I obviously fucked up these phases several times myself. But there are many times in Party Finder where you could just tell someone was lying about their prog. They had never seen that part of the fight before, and they had no idea how to even do Garuda yet, let alone prog Titan. Actually getting to Titan was one thing, but practicing him and getting that phase down was a whole other roadblock for me. You see, Titan will do this jails mechanic where he places 3 random players in rock jails, and they need to position themselves in a line so that the explosion of each rock can awaken Titan. Party Finder even uses a little nifty tool called auto markers to automatically mark the players that get marked with jails so that they know where to stand. This really tries to make the mechanic as easy as possible, but people still really struggle here. You have very little time between when you get marked for the jails and when the jails will actually trap you in place, so players really need to be paying attention for if they get the jail or not and see where to stand. The real problem with this mechanic is not its difficulty, but rather the fact that not everyone is going to get marked for jails every single run. What this results in is people who think they know how to do Titan putting up Ultima prog groups when they actually still don't know how to do jails because they've never been selected for jails. I think it's really the Titan to Ultima stretch of this fight that destroys Party Finder groups. I can't even tell you how many Annihilation prog groups I joined that didn't know how to do jails correctly. And if you don't know what Annihilation is, it's a mechanic that happens about halfway through the Ultima fight. Needless to say, this was the point I was stuck at for the longest. I got to Annihilation with a really consistent and good group, but after that I was not able to get a group that was able to get to Annihilation consistently anymore, and so I wasn't able to get any practice on the mechanic I needed to practice. This is where prog definitely felt the most hopeless. I remember like a 3-day stretch where I was trying to prog Annihilation, joining all these prog groups, and never even seeing Ultima for the entirety of those 3 days. It was insanely frustrating, and I genuinely felt like the fight was impossible to clear in Party Finder. One of the most frustrating things about Ultimate is that one bad player can truly stop you from making any progress at all. I remember joining multiple groups that claimed to be Annihilation prog, where the tank didn't even know where to put the spiny plume during the Garuda phase. And to make matters even more frustrating, something I've alluded to mention so far is how long it actually takes for these Party Finders to fill sometimes. Keep in mind, I was doing all my prog on Ether, which should be the most populated NA data center for Ultimate in specific, but it still took 2 hours at a time to get groups sometimes. I remember putting a prog party up and waiting for literally an hour and a half to only have 2 people join me in that entire time. And with Party Finder being the roulette that it is, what are the chances that you actually get a team that makes any substantial progress after you sit there waiting for 2 hours? It's the combination of these two factors that really make Ultimate a frustrating experience at times in the Party Finder. Now, I realize it probably sounds like I'm just complaining a bunch about the Ultimate raid, but there's a reason I kept coming back to it every single day. It's fun as all fuck, and it's probably the best and most fun thing I've ever done in this game, period. Every time you get past a new mechanic in Ultimate, you feel so good about yourself. You finally mastered it. You finally moved on to the next step of the fight. It's like learning an intricate puzzle step by step by step. It's so exhilarating to see a new mechanic in Ultimate for the first time. It's so nerve-wracking and intense. Everyone's dying. You have no idea what to do. You watched a guide, but you didn't retain any of that information because you weren't even at that part of the fight yet. I'll never forget how exhilarating it was to get to the Ultima phase for the first time. It was such a big moment for me, like, holy shit, this is actually possible. I'm on the final boss of the fight now. I remember seeing that phase transition of him eating all the primals in videos and thinking, damn, that's so raw, I need to see that in person one day. And I fucking did, and it felt amazing. Ultima, without a doubt, was the most difficult part of the fight, and about a week of my 2 weeks of prog was spent on Ultima. Well, actually, it was spent on Garuda because none of the parties were able to make it past fucking Garuda, man. There were so many days of only seeing Annihilation like once or maybe not even at all during that day. And Annihilation is definitely the hardest mechanic in the Ultima phase, in my opinion, because it's a very, very tight dodge of a lot of different things at a time. Once you get past Annihilation, it's pretty much free game. Suppression can definitely be fucked up if your team doesn't know what they're doing, but Suppression is not as scary as it looks when you see it for the first time. It was when I saw Suppression for the first time that I decided to put up a clear for one party to see if I could just get the clear and stop worrying about getting parties that didn't know what they were doing. Unfortunately, for 2 days of attempts, nobody would join my clear for one parties, and I kinda just gave up and thought, okay, no one does clear for ones, I'm gonna have to clear it with people who've never cleared before. But on the 3rd day, I finally decided, fuck it, I'll put up another clear for one, I'm gonna wait, I'm gonna see if anyone joins, and people did join. For once, I actually filled. I had a full party of 7 other players who had cleared the raid, and they were willing to help me finish off the fight. I thought surely now, this is a guaranteed clear. I know what I'm doing, I know all the mechanics, I'm not gonna fuck them up, and we're gonna get this clear. Alas, it was never this simple, and 3 of the clear for one parties I hosted in the same day did not result in a clear, and it made me feel like I was doing something wrong even though the wipes weren't coming for me. I felt like such a jackass putting the party back up every time as a clear for one, because I'm like, if someone keeps seeing me posting a clear for one that's not resulting in a clear, they're gonna think it's my fault for being the guy asking for the clear. Luckily enough, the 4th clear party filled up. We went in. Things are going incredibly smooth. We make it to Ultima, we make it to Annihilation, and the healer's internet dies. This was a truly tragic moment as everyone was doing mechanics perfectly, Annihilation went insanely smoothly, other than the healer disconnecting. And one disconnect in an ultimate will instantly ruin the fight. We needed that other healer to meet the heal checks in this fight. At this point, I truly thought the world was against me and that I was never going to get this goddamn clear, because Square Enix would do anything in their power to stop me. I remember going over to Discord and ranting to my friend about this. I was like, dude, I'm never going to clear this goddamn raid. I've spent 2 weeks doing this nonstop. I can't even get a party of players who can do it. The healer DC'd on a perfect run. What the hell am I ever supposed to do? And right after I did all that complaining, I cleared the fucking raid. Now, the clear itself wasn't the cleanest on my part, as you're seeing in the footage in the background. I did in fact have one death there from Ultima Laser Beam because I was being a jackass and not paying attention. But hey, we got the clear, we moved forward. And a huge shout out to the people in Party Finder who actually helped me get this goddamn clear. I can't even put into words how amazing it feels to finally get the kill after 2 weeks of just non-stop bashing your head into this fight. It was the best I've ever felt about anything in a video game when I finally cleared this thing. And I've done hard stuff in games before. I've SL1 Dark Souls 2 and 3. I've done the 5th Pantheon and Hollow Knight. And those things felt great, but nothing comes close to how good it felt to finally kill this motherfucker. I can only imagine how good it feels to clear something like DSR after spending months working on these 7 intricate phases. Suffice to say, I think I'm hooked, and I think I will be doing every other Ultimate raid when I get a chance. UCOB is next on the list, most likely, but I'm not opposed to doing T either, but I want to save DSR for last because it looks like an absolute clusterfuck. I also want to go back and do the current Savage tier now because clearing Ultimate gave me a lot more confidence as a player to just kind of go and join those practice parties and learn those Savage fights. I also want to say to anyone who might feel like I did and they want to do Ultimate but they're not really that interested in the Savages or the Extremes, go for it. Don't let people tell you that, oh, you need all this experience to do it. As long as you feel like you know your rotation well enough to do sufficient damage, at level 70 in specific for the Weapons Refrain, I do recommend the Weapons Refrain because it's probably the easiest ultimate, but go in, go try it, go join some fresh Garuda parties. You're not harming anyone by sucking in a Garuda prog party. It took me 2 years of playing this game to finally muster up the courage to even try one of these things, and you shouldn't make the same mistake as me if you're really interested in this content, because I truly feel like nothing else I've done in this game has been as fun as this singular raid was. Don't let people convince you that you need a static either to even try this content, because I was able to get my clear just fine in Party Finder within 2 weeks of practice, and I went through all the bullshit you have to go through in Party Finder. You can still get your clear, you just need to be dedicated, you just need to put the time in, and you will 100% get the clear if you want it bad enough. At the end of the day, Ultimate is just one giant puzzle that you need to memorize all the steps to, and if you're able to do that while pouring out sufficient damage, then you'll be able to get your clear. Anyways, thanks for tuning into this video. If you're interested in Ultimate but haven't given it a shot yet, I hope this video gives you some motivation to go in there and give it a fair chance. And if you're not interested in doing Ultimate, I hope this video has given you some insight into what an Ultimate might look like. This has hands down been my favorite thing in the game so far, so I'm really excited to try the other Ultimates when I get around to them. First, I'd like to do some re-clears of Ultima though and get a bunch more weapons, because goddamn they look cool. Let me know in the comments below what your first Ultimate raid was. Did you do it in Party Finder like me, or did you assemble a static to work on it? Remember to drop a like on the video, but only if you did, and subscribe to the BigBluePurple channel if you're not already. Now go join some trap parties and wipe to Garuda 500 times.